G'day, I'm Glen Morris from the Smart Energy Lab, and today I've got Markus Schmid from SENEC. G'day, Markus.
Hi, Glenn.
How you going?
Pretty good.
How was your trip up here?
It's good. Really nice area here. Really nice to drive through the green woods.
Yep.
Awesome.
Had a bit of fun at the airport?
Yeah, a little bit of fun at the airport as usual, pre-COVID. Everything is delayed. Everything takes time.
Did you get your luggage?
Yes, got my luggage. Just had to carry on, luckily.
Oh, lucky. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, well, you're based in Perth, is that correct?
Yes, I'm based in Perth, our headquarters.
And you've been in Australia a while now.
Yeah, 4 years with SENEC. Quite a while.
Yep. Cool. Yeah. So is Perth SENEC's headquarters in Australia?
Yes, Perth is SENEC headquarters in Australia. That's where we started off 2017.
Yep. All right. So you've actually been here 5 years. I mean, there's a company. Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's probably one of the things we want to talk a bit about is the company history in a minute. But just before we go into that, a little bit about your journey, your sort of career journey. How did you come to be doing what you do? And first, what's your title?
So my title is Head of Service and Support for SENEC Australia.
Yep.
And how I came here is I pretty much started off to become an electrician in industrial appliances systems, so automatization technique. Then I put on top an electrical engineering degree. Worked after that for a big company who does intrusion systems, transmission devices, fire alarm systems, trained people all over Germany and Europe just to get fit for the product, 2-day, 3-day courses to get them to know the product, how to program it, how to troubleshoot it. And then we discovered Australia. And yeah, came to Australia, fell in love and stayed.
Right. Oh, that's nice. Nice to hear.
Yeah.
And in terms of SENEC coming to Australia, what was the attraction?
Because it's one of the biggest PV markets in the world, one with the biggest potential in the world. I mean, the sun is shining super often. So it's one of the most attractive and advanced markets.
I think a lot of people don't realise that who live in Australia. Like, we're a small country by global standards,
yes,
but we're big in terms of solar.
Yes,
yeah.
And potential.
Yeah, and of course, after solar comes storage, and that's kind of one of SENEC's strengths.
Correct, correct.
Putting those together. Now, you've got a slide deck here, which we're going to talk about some of the aspects of it, and of course, I'll share those with the audience. So tell me a little bit about the motivation of the company.
So the motivation of our company is pretty much your life, your energy, your freedom. So we mean that. So our mission is to make the customers as self-sufficient as possible from the grid. So that means reducing the energy cost as good as we can to be self-sufficient, green, save money, and we can do that together as a company.
Yeah, I like to call it autonomous. Like you're completely responsible for
Correct.
all of your generation, your emissions, your choices, and like the freedom aspect. Once you add storage, if you have a potential for backup as well, which we'll get onto that, you now have a sort of level of independence, don't you?
Correct. And the freedom for me is also, for example, with the app, you see what your system is doing right away. So you can use appliances if you have excess energy. So you can also be more intelligent with the system. That gives you additional freedom as well.
I must admit the SENEC app, I'm not just saying this because you're in the room with me, is really good. I do criticize apps that have lots of tiny little numbers and little tiny details of graphs and stuff as the main representation. Yours is, look, there's the energy flow. This is how much solar, how much storage, how much self-use, how much grid use. That's what most customers need.
Yeah.
It's really easy to understand. So you can make those choices you just suggested.
Yeah. Super simple.
Yeah.
Super simple.
So after motivation comes
the mission, of course. So yeah, our mission is to provide the customers with the best experience possible. We listen, we explore, we support, and we act and get a result together as partners.
Right.
So that's what we do, and that's our mission. And yeah,
okay,
great.
It's a good one to have. So it's mission possible.
Mission possible, yeah. Not impossible. This one is definitely possible.
So for those who are not familiar with SENEC in Australia particularly, tell me a bit about the company history.
So the company pretty much started 2009 in Germany.
Wow, it's been going a long time.
It's been going a very long time. So we pretty much started 2009, in Leipzig, as a pure energy storage provider. So we don't do TVs, anything else. We just do energy storage. Of course, in these days, lead-acid systems. Then we moved on. 2017, we moved into Australia. Beforehand, we had the first virtual power plant called Economic Grid.
Okay, you
pretty
better explain
defined.
what's a virtual power plant.
So a virtual power plant for us at the time is pretty much where you can store your excess energy and use it at a later time.
Right. With your own storage or with...
With our own storage, as in you have a SENEC home and we are the energy provider as well. So that is the idea, to have that hand in hand.
Oh, right. So SENEC actually is a retailer,
Correct.
but not in Australia. You partnered with a company in Australia.
Yes, with Diamond Energy in this case.
Yep.
So it's called the SENEC Cloud, which is also available in Europe, of course. So the new product from Economic Grid, which was 2014, we moved on to the new version, which is called the SENEC Cloud. So Economic Grid was just the first trial, the first start to do that.
Now, a lot of people will associate cloud with just monitoring, but it's way more than just monitoring.
It's way more than monitoring. It's actually, I always refer to it as a digital energy storage bank account.
Right.
So you put in money, you get out money. You put in energy, you get out energy.
So you've got surplus solar, you've charged up your batteries, it's still sunny, particularly in WA. And so it's spilling to the grid, but you're being credited with that to a special cloud account.
Correct.
So when you go to use electricity, you're actually using your credit.
Correct.
It's not like a feed-in tariff, it's actually your energy.
That's the idea, one-to-one.
Right. Can you share it with more than one?
Not in Australia currently.
Okay. So that's a project that you've done in Europe where...
That's a project, not just a project, it's actually a real product.
Product.
We run in Germany.
Yeah. And what do you call it?
SENEC Cloud Family, for example, as an add-on,
okay.
or SENEC Cloud Go, where you can pretty much charge your car on an EMBW's charging stations all over Germany or Europe from your excess energy.
Right, it's like streaming services or mobile phone plans where you can have a family plan.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Wow.
That's why I refer to the credit card, because you have a card everywhere with you.
Yes.
Doesn't matter if you're in Singapore, you can pay. If you're in Western Australia, you can pay. If you're in Melbourne, you can pay.
Right.
That's the idea behind it as well.
So just to be clear, SENEC Cloud in Australia is not the family option, it's the personal option. So your account...
Correct.
Yeah.
Your account, you get 500 kilowatt hours per quarter as a volume. If you calculate it down, that's 5.5 kilowatts per day, which gives you, with a V310, 14.5 kilowatt hours usable storage, virtual and hardware per day.
Right. Wow. Hang on. Let's unpack that. So you just mentioned the Home V3, which we've got a simulated version here.
Yes.
Since it's not quite as round as the real thing. This is actually a better form factor.
Yeah, better form factor.
USB stick. Isn't that cool? Power brick.
Yep.
But so the Home 3, which I'll link up here in the card. I've done an installation video on that already. It's got PV input, so 2 MPPTs. It's got 9 kilowatt hours of usable storage. But then with the cloud, you get that extra 5.5 roughly per day.
Correct.
Is it metered on it's metered on a monthly basis though? So a really sunny day,
Quarterly basis.
a quarterly basis. Wow, that's great. So you might have some really good days
Correct.
where there's way more than 5.5 going out.
Or you have some really bad days, and then you use more, for example, than your 5.5.
Gotcha. All right. So that's good. It accommodates the solar cycle very nicely.
Correct.
Oh, wow. I'm loving the cloud idea. So that was in 2017. SENEC got into offering the cloud services. What happened next?
Yeah, so 2017, we started off in Italy and Australia.
Yep.
2018, SENEC was bought by EMBW, one of the biggest power utilities in Germany. And since then, yeah, we're expanding pretty huge and largely. So 2019, we launched a 360 degrees approach. That's what we're doing in Australia as well. So 360 degrees is, part of it is the cloud, panels, storage systems, EV charger, pretty much to give that whole package. Not just one single product, which can do one thing, the whole thing.
So it's energy management as well as generation and storage.
Correct.
Yeah, so bringing in some of those big loads like EVs, for instance.
Correct.
So does that mean you've got a special EV solution, or is it just the fact that your EV is connected to your home?
We have a special EV solution. We have a special EV charger, which you can use single or three phase, 7.2 or 22 kilowatts. And that has an interface to the SENEC. And then you can do advanced things like just charge from my excess energy and charge no matter what.
Oh, I like it because EVs are now the new home that you just bought that you didn't know you had already.
Yes.
In terms of energy consumption.
Yes, correct.
Or more. Yeah, right. So just to get this clear, What are we calling the EV charger? Is it just got a special
SENEC EV charger.
SENEC? Oh, it's easy. SENEC EV charger. In combination with the smarts associated with the Home V3, can optimize self-use of solar to charge your car.
Correct.
Let's say I need my car fully charged by 7 a.m. in the morning, and it hasn't been a really sunny day. How does it manage that?
It's super easy. You do the same thing as always. You grab your phone, open your app, see what your system is doing, and then you can change the mode from being like as self-sufficient as possible, charge from excess, just charge my car with max energy.
All right. And you do that from your phone?
You can do that from your phone, and then you can still decide as well, use my battery storage to charge the car, or don't use my battery storage, just charge the car.
Okay.
For example, maybe you have a cheaper tariff.
So you actually got 3 energy sources. You've got solar, storage, and grid, and you can choose any of those 3.
Correct.
And solar will be preference, of course, if it's available.
Correct.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Correct.
That's a great offer. Cool. And what happened next?
Next, we're here now in Australia, of course, 2022. That's when we launched the SENEC Cloud here in Australia as well, and have in Australia the 360 approach as well.
Right. Yep. Now, All Energy's coming up, and for many of the viewers, it will have passed already, I'm afraid. But All Energy in Melbourne's the biggest event in the renewable energy field. You're exhibiting there.
Yes.
Are you revealing any new products?
We're revealing the 360 approach.
Yep.
First time to the market. Like that the product is visible, that people can see the home, the SENEC Home V3 Hybrid with the EV charger and just the whole package. Get to know our staff. We have a couple of trainings running as well, where I hope I see a lot of people on the trainings.
Yeah. Oh, cool. So you actually be running some training at the conference?
At the conference, we have 4 sessions booked, 1 hour each.
Yes. So in a breakout room or at your booth?
Yes. No, we have a nice room for which can fit 50 people. And then we talk about what we can do and the 360 approach we can offer.
Oh, that's excellent. Now, one of the things I liked about doing the install of the Home 3 was the fact that you actually have to do the training to get access to the manual. I think it's a very clever approach because, lazy installers like me just sometimes open the box and start trying to work it out. And there was Anne and I going, how do we get these batteries in here? Oh, I can't quite work out which way around. And then Anne goes, well, let's just read the manual. There is no manual. Markus, where's the manual? You have to do the training, Glen.
Correct. You buy a super high quality product.
Yeah.
So our we just want to have the installer to do a quality install as well and know the product.
Yeah, yeah. You'd expect that from every other industry. You don't expect your mechanic just to kind of like look at your car and go, let's work it out.
Yeah. Of course.
So SENEC's a global company. Are you Germany, Australia? Where else are you?
We're also active in Italy. So Germany is our main market, Italy and Australia. That's the 3 markets we're currently active.
Now, when I made the last video about the install, I happened to mention that SENEC had over 100,000 systems. A few months have gone by. How much are you up to now?
Yeah, we're now at 120,000 systems installed, which we can monitor.
Wow.
So there are earlier versions which we can't even monitor, so they're not in that sum. So 120,000 systems are online on our portal.
Okay, so you're big.
Yes.
As a company, how many people?
Roughly 600 in total. So SENEC, the whole SENEC company is roughly 600 people.
Right. Okay. Wow. So even though you're relatively small at the moment in Australia, in Germany, how do you sit in the market?
Pretty well, actually. So we're number 1 in Germany. We sold over 50,000 systems in 2021 and had over 250 megawatts solar panels sold in 2021.
Wow. Okay.
It's a bit
impressive. So that's an incredible kind of growth. 50,000 systems installed. Is that just a slow incremental growth?
No, that's a hyper growth, as we call it. So for the last 4 years, we've grown around 900%.
Wow, 900%. Okay, that's very impressive.
That's massive.
Tell me some more stats about the company.
Some more steps about the company. We're owned by EnBW. EnBW is one of the biggest power utilities in Germany, with roughly 21,000 employees. They're having one of the largest grids in Germany.
That's really interesting. That what we would call a gentailer in Australia, so a generator and a retailer, actually has bought the biggest storage company in Germany. So they see the future of energy as being not just centralized generation, but also distributed.
Yes, correct.
And they want to be part of that transition.
Correct. And they're doing a lot of very smart things. building an AV charging network, actually the biggest in Europe, the hypergrid or the hypernets, as they call it, where you can use the energy as well.
Oh, that's part of the cloud. So you can charge your car with the surplus solar that your home built.
Correct.
Because you got a credit for
Correct.
it. All right.
Correct.
And what do you call it? The hyper network?
Hypernetwork or hypergrid.
Hypergrid. Show us the hypergrid.
So here are some pictures. That's actually not a mock-up. That's actually real pictures from one of the ready hypergrid charging stations along the highways in Germany.
Well, I'm looking forward to that being on our highways because I think there's a bit of cart before the horse problem at the moment where people are taking, finally starting to adopt EVs, but there's not many charging options. I mean, we've got this DC charger here. It's the closest one to Melbourne.
Really?
Yeah, you've got to drive to almost to Melbourne to find another one.
So you need to drive on Echo Plus Plus to get back to Melbourne.
Turtle mode, yeah. Just about.
Yeah.
So what are the range of services that SENEC offer?
We offer a lot of services, a lot of different services, which we combine in a holistic 360-degree approach. First of all, and I think that's a big one for Australia, is the services we can offer in terms of support. So we do have a hassle-free customer service. We have expert in-house engineers available on the phone. Not engineers, they're sitting wherever in the world which never seen the product. We have products available. For example, we have a lab in Perth where we can also see and test things on a live system. We mentioned already the SENEC Certified Installers program to ensure high quality of our installers. It's pretty much a one-stop service and battery inverter service because we're all in one unit. As you can see the unit here, it's all in one unit, so you don't need to, you don't have an inverter somewhere sitting on the wall and battery somewhere sitting on the ground. It's all in one unit, so you have one warranty. So you call one company and not two companies.
Yeah. I've been in that situation where it's finger pointing. No, it's not our problem. It's the inverter's problem. Inverter company. No, it's the battery company. Oh, yeah. Don't want to do that.
Yes.
No, it's a big plus of the full integration. I really got a sense for that just assembling the product. So the integration of the smarts as well as the physical components. And it's got one external component which was the energy meter. So it can also monitor all of the house consumption as well as your generation. Optimize use for self-use. Yeah, it's really nice. And I have experienced the SENEC support, and you're right. They do pick up the phone, which is sometimes a bit of a problem.
I was shocked to hear that the first time that actually people were concerned that the phone doesn't get picked up.
Yeah. So we're not waiting for Germany to come online because you're in Perth.
Correct. We're in Perth, and we have an engineer in Victoria as well here located.
And being in Perth, for all Eastern Seaboard people, that means that you work late.
Correct.
You're 2 hours behind. So if you've got a job and it's running to 6 o'clock, there's still someone awake in SENEC offices in Perth.
Correct. That's the beauty if you have different engineers in different states, because then you can cover different time zones. Zones for a longer time actually.
And most of the problems are at the end of the job.
Correct. Friday evening.
Yep. And the commissioning.
Want to go home.
Yep. That's right. Yeah. The customer's going, is it working? Yeah.
Correct. And one of the things we started to do this year is proactive monitoring. Mm-hmm. So proactive monitoring is we pretty much check our systems and check if they have any issues. So most of the times we actually reach out to the customer before they even know it. To be honest, most of the times it's their systems are offline. But it's just another service which we think is great to, being proactive and talk to the customer and let them know if there is anything.
I mean, you've got the comms there already, so that's just making good use of the fact that I suppose there's some AI behind that too, looking for, low state of charge for long periods of time. Maybe the solar's not working.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
All right. Now, you got some install pictures too, or explosions diagrams of the units, so we have a look at those?
Yes, we have that as well. Another quick thing to mention, that we have, of course, all parts available in Australia as well. So there's no need to wait for 3 months to get whichever part or whichever spare part you might need. So that's a picture of the SENEC Home V3 Hybrid. As you can see, fully exposed. That's actually one of the reasons or one of the advantages why we are the installer's choice in Germany. So we call ourselves the installer's choice in Germany. You know already why? Because we pretty much can undo every cover. So you can expose all 5 sides, top and the 4 sides, to install the product super easily and super confident.
And I like the way that the covers come off. You've got the tool there.
Yeah, we have the tool, so they're magnetically mounted. So every cover is magnetically mounted, apart from the top bit. So you can just use the suction pad
Yeah.
and open up.
What's the reason for the top actually having a screw?
Because on the top, that's where we have the electrical supply. So that's where the AC and DC comes in.
Yeah.
Just to have another layer of, security.
Yeah, so
that side.
Popping the sides doesn't expose any LV risk.
Correct.
The top, which is electrical connections, has a screw underneath the little grill thing.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh, when I saw this, I kind of think, oh, is this a freebie? And then I realized how useful it was. Well, Anne did when she did the training.
Yes.
But yeah.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. I mean, another good thing is that it's a freestanding unit. You don't need to bolt it to the ground, to the wall, or wherever. It's a freestanding unit and fully certified for that.
Yeah. So one of the advantages of freestanding unit is installing in a tight space, as we did. We couldn't get the batteries in the side, so we just rotated it 45 degrees, slid the batteries in, rotated it back again.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really nice. And also there's a little sort of air gap basically between, it's not hard up against the wall, so you've got full cooling around the whole system. It's got active and passive. It's a little quiet fan comes on occasionally.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So you need to have a distance 10 centimeters towards the wall.
Yep.
That actually the fans can pick up, the air from the back
Yep.
through the ventilation slots.
Yeah.
And for the top as well.
For those who haven't seen my install video up here, this unit's, what is it, about 1 point something meters high? I'm just trying to remember.
1.17 meters high.
1.17, yeah. So, it's not going to block the window if you put it near a window or something like as we did. It's got a very small footprint. I mean, it's literally, about 400 and something?
Yep.
Kind of like this big. So it doesn't take up much room if you're putting it in something like a utility space. Yeah. And I like the display on the front there. It's, it's right there at waist level. Press the button. You get the basic information. You can sort of see the energy flow and the key numbers.
The system is active or not. What I also like, going back to the installer's choice, you can actually put your laptop on top of it. So you wired everything in, put the cover on, just put your laptop super conveniently on top, and configure the system.
I've been known to take a table with me when I've been in little fold-up tables because, when you're trying to balance a laptop on your knee or sit in the dirt with it, it's just terrible. But built-in laptop support.
Correct. Also good for your back.
Yeah, good for your back. Yeah. Cool. Now, you've got a few other features there. So the Home 3 is a hybrid in the sense that it's got PV and battery.
Correct.
It's really high efficiency, like 97.4%. That's its PV efficiency.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's got backup power. Now, that's a feature that is coming, is that right? Or we got it yet?
Yes, it's coming, so it's pretty much on the way.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, so the advantage is we have a combined AC and DC coupled system, so you can also do just an AC couple. So whichever PV inverter you have already or the customer has already, doesn't matter, we can hook that up to our systems.
Which is how I've installed it. So I've got AC coupled and the DC combined because we had an existing inverter. Let's talk about the specs of the unit. Tell me the key things. I mean, it comes in a couple of variations depending on how much battery capacity you have.
Correct. So it's also another advantage. The system is not coming as one piece, which weighs 115 kilogram if you have 2 battery modules. It comes actually as 3 pieces. The case itself and then 2 battery modules. So you can purchase a SENEC Home V3 5 or 10 with 1 or 2 battery modules. And then it's a modular system. You can slide in the batteries. Every battery module weighs 34.5 kilograms. So it's also not too heavy and you can pretty easily slide them in.
Right. If you get, say, with the 4.5 kilowatt hour battery module, can you add another one later on?
Yes, you can add another one later on within 1 year.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense because they're aging and you want them to age together.
Correct.
Yeah. I always tell people if you're thinking of upgrading your batteries, don't leave it too long for lots of reasons. They may not make that battery anymore.
Correct. That maybe also another reason, yeah.
Now, who makes the batteries in the Home 3?
So everything from the SENEC Home V3 comes from Germany, apart from the battery modules. There are Samsung SDI modules, and they're coming straight from Korea.
Yeah. Okay. Really high quality battery. Okay. So in terms of the PV capacity of this unit, what are some of its vitals?
So the PV capabilities are, we have 2 MPPTs on board.
Yep.
Every MPPT can physically do 750 volts DC, which we know is limited in Australia to 600 volts currently. The startup DC voltage is 75 volts.
So very low.
Very low.
Right.
Which is good if you have bad days or the sun is just rising. Each and every MPPT can do 20 amps operational and 23 amps short circuit current.
Wow, that's huge. For those who are not familiar with this, there's been a problem lately in Australia. Well, you could say the world, is that panels have increased their ISC a lot very quickly.
Yes.
So we're now seeing panels with 12, 13, 14, really big ones, 17 amps. And you need to have a 1.25 safety margin on top of your maximum short circuit current of your array. You can easily meet that requirement. You've got plenty of headroom.
Correct.
Yeah. I imagine you could probably do 2 strings with lower ISC panels too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could also do parallel strings if you're within the spec.
That's what I meant. Parallel. Yeah. So parallel strings on one input as long as you stay below the 20 amps.
Correct.
Yeah. Now, the IMP at 20 amps is a cap. It's not a you'll blow it up, right? So it'll just limit to 20 amps.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Even if you're between the 20 and the 23, they will be still limited.
Yeah.
But above the 23, that's something we wouldn't recommend at all.
Right. Yeah. Because it's just the capacity of the electronics to handle that current.
Correct.
Now, the 600 volt limit, for the audience who are not familiar with this in Australia and New Zealand, it used to be both in 5033, our PV array standard, and in our inverter standard, 4777 Part 1. But we didn't upgrade them together in lockstep. So we upgraded first 5033 to allow 1000 volt domestic systems. But because 4777 hasn't yet been, when I say upgraded, an amendment or a new version, we're still limited by the inverter standard to 600 volts. But that only applies on grid. So, if you happen to have an off-grid system, you can go to 1000 volts in domestic. Yep. Cool. The battery modules, are they high voltage batteries?
They're low voltage batteries. They're lithium-ion NMC modules.
Okay, so nickel, manganese, cobalt, and nominal voltage is around 58.1, or that's their peak. Right.
Correct.
Cool. So in terms of cycle life, do you give any, or energy throughput, do you give any warranties around that?
So out of the box, we give a 10 years warranty,
Yep.
12,000 cycles, and 75% capacity remaining after that.
How many cycles?
12,000.
12,000 cycles. That's unheard of. Right. So obviously very, very good quality batteries.
We're very confident.
You probably won't live long enough to use them.
Depends on the lifestyle, right?
Well, if you're doing one a day, 365 cycles a year, yeah.
I think 1.6 is realistic, what you could do per day.
Wow. Okay. So that, because you can actually discharge as well as charge within one day, so probably not full cycle,
Correct.
two full
Depends on the
cycles.
states and depends on the grid code.
Yeah,
Of course.
So what's the maximum charge rate?
So the maximum charge rate depends, of course, how many modules you have in. If you have 2 modules in, 3 kilowatt is the max charging rate.
Yep.
And 3.5 is the max discharging rate. To cover that a little bit deeper, I would need to go back to the oversizing of the system.
Yes.
So we not limit the installer to, I love when you said the CEC, the silly CEC rule with the 6.6. We're not doing that. We limit the installer by the max current. So
Right.
if an installer asks me, what is the max PV I can put on?
Yep.
I said to him, you're the designer. You can calculate it. So you can come up with a higher PV array. I would say the sweet spot is between 8 and 10 kilowatt on the system.
Wow. Okay.
Because it's a hybrid system and we have a bidirectional current transformer.
Yep.
So that means it's a 5 kilowatt AC rated system. But if we have enough power from the panels, the system can actually bypass the AC and charge the batteries with up to 3 kilowatt at the same time. So the customer will see on the end customer portal, energy is up to 8 kilowatt, which means 5 kilowatt AC and 3 kilowatt charging the battery at the same time. And that's the beauty and the advantage of the system as well.
Yes. Oh no, that's a big plus. So yeah, I've always said oversizing is a good thing for overcast days, but
Correct.
many systems you're still limited by the power rating of the inverter. But here you've got DC charging and AC inverter to loads at the same time, giving you the sum of the two. So 5 plus 3 equals 8. Wow. So we could call it, it's just all about marketing. I suppose you could call it an 8 kilowatt inverter.
You could potentially call it. I'm always
Or
saying
system, 8 kilowatt.
8 kilowatt system.
System.
You could also say 8 kilowatt combined hybrid power.
That's a better way of putting it. Yeah. So really suits our market, which is incentivized to put lots of PV on.
Correct. And you can claim STCs for it.
Yeah. For those not familiar about the silly CEC rule, is that if you don't have batteries, you're limited to 133% of the peak watts of the array with respect to the AC output power of the inverter. So a 5 kilowatt AC output power of inverter limits you to 6.666 recurring kilowatts peak of PV. and you can't go 1 milliwatt over that, or you're not eligible for the program. So you just don't get a rebate.
Correct.
It's not pro rata.
Correct.
But you add energy storage, and it no longer applies. So there you go. Oversizing is a thing with batteries. Yeah.
Big plus, yeah, of course.
Yeah. Great. Safety-wise, what can you tell me about this unit?
So safety-wise, first of all, as mentioned, we deliver a 10 years warranty out of the box.
Yep.
We have all spare parts available in Australia, of course. And with the product, because we're so confident in the product, we offer with this product for the first time an extended 20 years warranty.
20 years?
So another 10 years warranty, which the customer can purchase.
All right. That's amazing. Okay. So that's it's pretty common for a lot of home appliances to have that little add-on warranty.
Yep.
So in a way, you've got your confidence is there, but there's going to be a higher risk factor, so you've got to charge for it.
Correct. So there will be pretty much a bit similar to an insurance.
Yeah.
So in the second 10 years, if there is a claim, we just charge a fee, and then we get the system fixed, replaced, or whatever the system might have.
Okay. Cool. In terms of certifications, does it meet all the certifications required in Australia?
It does meet all current certifications in Australia, of course.
Right. So it's eligible for small-scale technology certificates, STCs.
Yes, of course. 4777.2, the latest version.
Yep. Great. From an installer's perspective, there's generally you're thinking about where to put it. Then you're thinking about where's the metering going to go? How do you connect to the metering? And AC and DC isolation for the PV, and battery isolation if it's two components. You've done an all-in-one system here, so there's no battery isolator.
Correct.
Yeah, doesn't need it because it's actually built into the system, but you still need a PV isolator, right?
Yes, a PV isolator and of course an AC isolator, depending on the distance to the switchboard.
Right. So if you're within 2 meters of the switchboard, the isolator or the main switch. In terms of the meter, one of the things I liked about it, once again linking to the install video up here, is that you provide a pre-terminated cable with a RJ45 plug on the end. I know it's so often the problem is there's a cable with all these little wires and you've got to get them in the right spots, and if you don't, it's hard to test it. Like you can't measure voltage, it's data.
Yes.
So you make sure that it's plug it in, it'll work.
Correct. We put ourselves in the installer's shoes and wanted to see what do we need as an installer.
Yep.
One of the things is having a meter pre-configured and ready to go. So the meter comes with a data cable, and we of course deliver a little data coupler as well. So you not even need to crimp a cable depending on how you wire the cable. That you can just plug the meter in, meter is ready to go, it doesn't need to be programmed.
Yep. Oh, brilliant.
Super easy.
Now the meter, even though it's a single phase inverter, it's a 3-phase meter. Yep. So it's measuring all of your generation and consumption across all 3 phases.
Correct.
As well as being the metering for the export of this unit. So for export limiting, that meter is doing the export limiting?
Yes, this meter is doing the export limiting as well. In the scenario when you use it as a hybrid system, or when you have an existing external PV inverter as well, we call it SENEC certified inverters. So we can talk to a couple of main brands. We have a direct interface to them, so you can also export limit external inverters if they're SENEC certified.
Oh, right. Okay. Can you remember offhand what they are?
Yeah, Fronius, SMA, Solar Edge, Delta, just to name a couple of them.
Oh, okay.
We have a dedicated list, so check out the training, then you get to know which ones are.
When you say you're communicating with this by data communication directly?
Data depends on the inverter, some data communication, some just Ethernet, the existing Ethernet you use on the customer's network.
Oh, right. Yeah. So RS485 over TCP IP.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha. Wow. What else have you got?
What else do we have? We do have, of course, monitoring solutions.
Yes.
All monitoring solutions are free of charge. We mentioned already the app.
Yes.
For the end customer, the app is only available for the end customer. Unlimited login. So if you have a family of 10 people, everyone can log in, see the system, what the system is doing. Then we have another monitoring solution, which is we call it the portal, my.senec.com. So the installer can log in, can see all the systems the installer has ever installed, sees the performance, sees how independent the customer is from the grid, sees the MPPT voltage, can do remote tasks. We have a login as SENEC, the SENEC support team, so we can see the systems as well. And that's one of the reasons we can do this proactive monitoring, and the end customer can log in as well. And we have accounts set up as well for installers and subcontractors. So it's also a pretty advanced system. So if you are the main company, have a subcontractor, the subcontractor installs for you.
Yep.
So he assigns the system to you, and the subcontractor can see the system as well.
Right. So you kind of got role-based monitoring.
Correct.
Everything from the customer through to the contractor through to the retail company. Okay, that's great. So because you've got this cloud-based monitoring service, is it two-way? Like you can push through firmware upgrades?
Yes, we can, of course, do firmware updates. If the standards change, we can actually proactively upgrade systems in the field. We can also do diagnosis. We can restart the system, charge the system, and all of that you would need to have some sort of troubleshooting and see what the system is doing. We can download log files. We have beautiful diagrams where you can actually see the daily performance of the system.
Great. So tell me something about the safety features.
So the safety features, we have a couple of them. I mean, to cover all of them, then we would sit here the rest of the week. Just to name some, we have on the PV safety side of things, we have overvoltage protection per MPPT, pretty much surge protection per MPPT.
Like lightning
Protection,
yeah,
of course. We do have an integrated RMCU. An RMCU detects AC and DC residual currents as well, which is a huge benefit and a huge plus for the customer safety.
Right. So this would be in the case of a backup circuit, or
this is in general. So the system monitors AC and DC residual currents all the time.
Right. So there's no need for a Type B RCD on the AC input port because It's actually already monitoring that.
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a plus. Yep.
Correct. Yeah. System fuse on the bus bar, battery module safety, integrated battery management system, and as a fallback area, DC relay as well, which can disconnect.
Right. So it's got sort of structured levels of safety. If this system fails, then this system can.
Correct.
And ultimately, a fuse is the most simple form of protection.
Correct.
It just goes open.
Correct. So, for example, one of the circuit boards is called the IPU, the Integrated Protection Unit.
Yep.
This circuit board is a pure hardware-related board.
Yep.
There is no logic. You can't upgrade it. You can't downgrade it. You can't tamper with it.
Yep.
Everything, the main core safety features are just all hardware.
Right. Wow. Cool. So let's have a look at a schematic. How this would be typically put together where you've just got the one home V3 with PV. So you've got a meter and then you've got some loads.
Correct. So here in the single line diagram, we see power meter number 1.
Yep.
By the way, all the power meters are also come in different colors. So if you get a power meter with the yellow data cable, you know it's power meter number 1 because it's pre-programmed and preset for that purpose.
Oh.
If you get a power meter with a blue data cable, then it is what we call a power meter 3, which just measures external PV inverters if they're not SENEC certified.
Now, let's go look at the SENEC certified schematic.
Yep.
The advantages with this are, press the thing, there we go. So you wouldn't need a separate power meter because SENEC certified can communicate.
Correct. You save the money for the additional power meter.
Yep.
And the advantage is as well that we can actually export limit the existing PV inverter. So you can export limit the whole system, not just the SENEC Home V3, but also the external PV inverter.
All right. So that is really the big plus about SENEC certified third-party inverters is full export control.
Yes.
Right, and there's quite a few brands. We've already run through them. I might put them in the description below. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. This is where you've got a non-SENEC certified inverter. You need another meter?
Correct. You would purchase, as we call it, power meter 3, so a second meter, the one with the blue data cable, wire it in on the AC side of the inverter or inverters, if you have more than one, and wire it back to the SENEC with the data cable.
Gotcha. Cool. You've covered all bases, really. It's very good. What about in terms of labeling when you're installing this thing? Is it really straightforward? Now, it's a bit of a Dorothy Dix question because I have already done it, but just for the audience, tell us a bit about the stickers.
So about the stickers, that's a really big point. So when you install a battery, as you can see it here in the picture, you end up with a battery, 2 ports, plus, minus, and then there are some data cables.
Yep.
A red one and a blue one. What are you doing with that? That's why we created battery stickers. So you have battery module A and B. Battery module A goes in the bottom of the system. Battery module B goes on top. And it shows you how to set the dip switches and where to plug in the data cables.
Yeah.
Super easy, super straightforward.
Right. I like it. Using color coding, labeling, so that you don't have to go in one hand in the manual, looking at a tiny little picture, trying to work out which port to plug it into. And there are quite a few ports.
Yes, there are quite a few ports to cover.
Yeah. Okay, let's go through the commissioning process.
So once everything is wired, AC, DC, and battery modules are in.
Yep.
Everything is closed. You can start up AC the system. The system will then show off on the front display a little IP address. So the customer, the installer, needs to connect his laptop to the customer's network.
Can I just say that is a really good feature? Like some inverters say, find the IP address on your local router. Now, that often is the customer's router. They don't have a password for it. You don't have access to it.
If you access it and something is not working afterwards, you're liable. You can come back.
That's right. But it's actually on the display. Correct. So it's basically saying, I'm here. This is my address.
Correct. Yeah. So the SENEC starts up, searches through the HCP for an IP address, shows it on display. Installer needs to connect to the same network, of course, uses his favorite browser. Doesn't matter if it's Mac, Windows, Linux. Type in the IP address and the interface will start up. The interface has 2 logins. One login is that you have actually done the training, and the second login is for the company.
Right.
So that the system gets assigned for a company, and then you just follow the steps. Simple installation, single phase, 3-phase, export limit, what size of PV, if you have additional features like the Backup Pro.
It's basically a wizard, is it sometimes called, where you just follow the instructions.
And a battery wizard as well to equalize the batteries as well and make sure that they're running. The system does a performance test as well on the battery side of things to make sure everything is wired correctly and is working properly.
Wow. I did notice it was kind of doing its own thing for a while there. Yeah. So it's not only are you commissioning the system, but it's commissioning itself.
Yes.
With extensive longitudinal testing.
Yes.
By the way, the connection is via a wired Ethernet port to the internet, which is the most reliable way. Let's say you don't have an Ethernet port. What's your options for connecting?
So the option is you can, of course, install an access point. So, for example, a little dongle.
Yep.
Or you can access an 4G router if you're in a rural area. Access an external 4G router.
All right. So you've got other options other than just wired.
Yes.
Yeah. Because you've got network ports that you can connect those devices to.
Correct. External then.
Nice.
Of course.
Now, coming to the app, which I've already given a big glowing reference to, which was really nice to use.
Yep.
It's more than just a simple representation too. It does give you that fine-grained data if you want to go looking for it.
Correct. If you want to see statistics for whenever, you can actually open that and see the statistics for 2 years ago, what the system did on the same day 2 years ago. You can see that and identify every different spec, like grid import, grid export, PV production, battery charge, battery discharge. So you can find all of that in the app.
Wow. And you can do some control from the app as well.
Yes, you can control your EV charger once we have the fully integration, which will be Q1 next year.
Yep.
Then you can, of course, set and change the charging rates, charge from excess. If you have Backup Pro installed, you can also always keep a power reserve. In rural areas, especially super important, you set a power reserve to, for example, 10%. So the battery will just charge from 10% to 100%. And keep always the 10%, that when you have a blackout, you always have the 10%.
Can you force charge? Tell it to charge now from grid?
Yes, you can force charge it. We call it off-peak charge. So the end customer can actually set a routine, date, time, and how long it's going to be that the system is actually charging from the grid.
I'm thinking about, with all the storms we're having at the moment, you might be expecting a power outage. So you might want to actually top up your battery waiting for the power to fail.
Correct.
Yeah.
Peak charging. It's not available on the app currently, so the customer would need to go to my.senec.com, log in with the same credentials, and then can set up the time.
All right. So you can do some of the configuration through a browser.
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. So the SENEC EV charger, I'm a bit excited because we've got EVs here at the lab and charging cars becomes like one of my main obsessions because we are a little bit remote here. Now, what features will the SENEC charger have?
So the SENEC EV charger is available as of now. It's an Australian-made product where we're super proud of.
Wow.
It is one charger. You can configure it to single or three-phase charge. Mm-hmm. So single phase can do 7.2 kilowatt, three-phase 22 kilowatt. It can, of course, be limited for certain DNSPs. Want to have the charging rate a bit lower, that the main circuit breakers don't trip. We can do solar-optimized charging. Once we have the feature integrated in Q1 next year, it's a super compact design and easy to install. You pretty much have a bracket where you have your AC installed, hook the charger up on top, 4 screws, and you're done.
So we talked earlier on about smart charging using your own solar. That needs the cloud integration, which is coming in Q1, but it's still the same product. We don't have to change anything.
It is the same product. It still needs to have a firmware upgrade from the SENEC Home V3,
Yep.
and it needs to be connected to the charger. So we need to have a data cable from the charger to the SENEC,
Yep.
and a remote update. Then the installer needs to quickly come back, set up the charger, and then you're ready to go. You will see in the app then a new tab, which is called SENEC EV Charger. Then you can do the smart functionalities.
Now, I've got some of my audience are EV kind of smart people, and they know that the word charger is a bit misleading. And I like to just point this out, that it's actually supply equipment. It's not really the thing that's charging your car. Your car battery is charged by an onboard inverter. So this is basically a single or three-phase outlet, but it's got some safety features and smarts by communication pins. That's the main difference.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, EVSE is the technical term, electric vehicle supply equipment, but no one likes to say it, so we all call it a charger. But the reason I raise it is I've had people say, I bought a 22 kilowatt charger, but my car's only charging at 7.4.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because the charger is actually in your car.
Correct.
And your car only has a 7.4. You can connect the biggest socket you like to it, and it'll only charge at 7.4.
Correct.
Now, you've just integrated the biggest load that most homes will have going forward in the future as part of your energy management solution. And at the beginning of our talk, you talked about SENEC being a 360-degree company, looking at everything from the generation to monitoring, storage, and smart and controlling loads. Really, the SENEC home is the smarts of the home.
Yes.
It's looking after your energy future. Economically, in terms of safety and reliability and resilience. It's a pretty clever piece of kit.
Of course, yeah. That's the main idea.
Well, it's been great talking to you, Markus.
Thank you very much.
And look, a big thank you to SENEC. I really enjoy my unit. It's kind of like a cuddly toy that I come and look at every day. We should go and have a look at it, by the way.
Definitely. You should do that.
All right. Well, I'll see you at the show.
Cool. Thank you, Glenn.
Okay.
It was a pleasure.